Congrats! Did the UC Berkeley professor throw himself from the plane? Or did he bide his time through Mr. Hovind's pointless non sequiturs by drinking himself into a coma on overpriced gin?
Anyway, the professor said...
Oh, wait, the dance professor is still alive. That is some liver she has.
He did not know where the matter came from, so I said, well, sir, could you tell me where the laws came from? You know, who runs the universe with these laws? Gravity, centrifugal force, inertia. Who's the lawgiver?
A scientific law is a generalized statement that can be applied over a set of conditions, typically ideal. While similar to a scientific theory, a scientific law is much, much less powerful. They simply describe a common observation. They explain nothing. Scientific laws may be part of scientific theories, but they never supersede theories. For example, the universal law of gravitation can mathematically describe the force of attraction between two objects. But the theory of general relativity explains what that force is and how it operates. Scientific laws describe natural processes, much like formation of salt crystals. No magic is required.
He said, we don't know that for sure.
Actually, scientific laws are largely mathematical predictions in ideal closed systems.
I said, oh, sir, could you tell me where the energy came from? You know, it takes energy to make something move.
Theoretically, the sum of the energy in the universe is zero. On a universal scale, energy is driven largely by gravity, illustrated by this depiction of the accretion disk forming around a supermassive black hole.
Who bought the gas to run this machine anyway?
Have these non sequiturs run thin on anyone else?
He said, we don't know that either.
Unknowns do not end scientific study. They promote it.
I said, sir, could I ask you another question? And he said, sure. What else would you like to know? Else? What do you mean else? You haven't told me nothing yet.
By Mr. Hovind's own admission, he has received general information regarding the early Big Bang, the formation of simple elements, the formation of stars, and the formation of planets. If he had been paying attention rather than congratulating himself on successfully scaling a poster, he would have noticed.
I said, does Berkeley, where you teach, have a merry-go-round? How many of you know what a merry-go-round is? You go round, round, round till you puke, you know? He said, no, we don't have a merry-go-round at Berkeley. I said, you ought to get one. You could learn some good science on a merry-go-round. If you put some fourth graders on a merry-go-round, any fourth graders in here tonight? Who's in fourth grade? Going into fourth grade. There we go. All right. I like fourth graders. I spent the best 5 years of my life in the fourth grade. That's before they diagnosed ADD. We're going to put some fourth graders on the merry-go-round, and we will get the high school football team out there to get it spinning clockwise as fast as it will possibly go. Now, if you have a digital watch, you may not know what clockwise means. I'll explain it later. We're going to spin the merry-go-round clockwise. The kids are going to go through 4 phases. They start off in phase 1. They'll be screaming at the football players. Come on, let's go. Faster, faster. Can't you go any faster? You get up around 30 miles an hour. The kids enter phase 2, where they stop screaming. They just quietly concentrate on trying to hang on for dear life. When you get to about 60 miles an hour, you enter phase 3, where they start screaming again. But now they're screaming, stop, stop, please slow down. Don't stop, though. Keep going faster and faster. When you get up around 100 miles an hour, you should enter phase 4. That's where the kids begin to fly off the merry-go-round. Now, when this happens, you will notice an interesting phenomena of physics. If the merry-go-round is going clockwise, whoosh, 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 when the kid flies off, whoa, the kid will be spinning clockwise until he encounters resistance, like a tree or a telephone pole. That's because of a law in physics known as the conservation of angular momentum. You see, if a spinning object breaks apart in a frictionless environment, which the Big Bang would have been, all the fragments that fly off will spin the same direction.
So many errors. The conservation of angular momentum states that in a closed system, the angular momentum remains constant despite changes in inertial mass. The common high school physics class example is to spin a classmate in a chair with his arms crossed close to his chest. When the spinning student extends his arms, his angular velocity decreases because his inertial mass has increased. This principle explains the transfer of angular momentum from the Earth to the Moon, as well as the high rotational velocity of small compact stars that form from much larger, slower rotating stars. Ultimately, the initial expansion of space-time resulted in a universe populated by small elementary particles. There were no objects thrown from a large central object.
That's because the outside is moving faster than the inside.
No, it would be because energy is conserved in closed systems.
The professor said, yes, I know about the conservation of angular momentum. I said, well, good, sir. Then I have a question for you. If the universe began as a swirling dot, Big Bang, like you said, would you please explain to me why 2 and possibly 3 of the planets are spinning backwards?
The Big Bang Theory does not describe the beginning of the universe. A planet's rotation is determined by local gravitational interactions. Uranus's axis is tilted 82 degrees, leaving the planet practically on its side. This is thought to have occurred because of an impact event early in its history. Likewise, Venus's retrograde rotation is associated with an impact event due to its incredibly slow rotation. Pluto has an apparent retrograde rotation due to its distance.
He said, that's interesting. I said, no, that's more than interesting. That's kind of hard on your Big Bang Theory.
Perhaps it is hard on Mr. Hovind's strawman version, but not the actual theory.
Not only that, at least 6 of the moons are spinning backwards, and some travel backwards around their planet.
Our fishy friend returns, and you thought we'd lost him. Actually, 48 satellites of Jupiter, 29 satellites of Saturn, 8 satellites of Uranus, and 3 satellites of Neptune have retrograde orbits. Most are captured asteroids. The orbit of a moon is determined by interactions with the planet, not the Big Bang.
Why?
We call it gravity.
He said, I don't know. Why do you think they're going backwards?
At this stage, I have to honestly picture the professor kicking himself for passing on that upgrade to first class. You meet the strangest people in Coach. Plus, you have to pay for all those little bottles of gin that you need so you can survive interacting with them.
I was hoping he was going to ask that. I said, well, sir, I believe it's very simple. You see, I believe in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, and God did it that way on purpose just to make the Big Bang Theory look stupid.
Apparently, Mr. Hovind's deity is a literal representation of those from Monty Python's Eric the Viking, i.e., a petulant child more concerned with playing games than the search for truth.